Hello everyone. Welcome back to our channel, Canada Immigration. We hope you're doing great. Well, in this, we'll talk about IRCC latest update, Express Entry Draw, Canada PGP, new poverty report card, study in Canada, Nova Scotia set to expand immigration. Welcome, everyone, to the latest immigration update from the Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, IRCC. We have some exciting developments to share, ranging from express entry draws to the Parent and Grandparent Program, PGP, an insightful poverty report card, study opportunities in Canada, and Nova Scotia's ambitious immigration expansion plans. Stay tuned as we unpack the latest news shaping Canada's immigration landscape. So, to get all the information, pay attention and watch the video through to the end. Please hit like and subscribe, and don't forget to push the notification bell for upcoming video. So, without any further delay, let's jump into the video. Immigration news: Canada announces update to Parents and Grandparents Program. Canada announces update to Parents and Grandparents Program 2023. Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada, IRCC, has announced that this year it will accept 15,000 applications under the Parents and Grandparents Program, PGP. Between October 10 and 23, IRCC will begin sending invitations to apply to 24,200 interested potential sponsors, aiming to receive up to the 15,000 complete applications. PGP is a program to sponsor parents and grandparents to become permanent residents of Canada. Eligible applicants will be chosen from the 2020 pool of interested eligible sponsors. Individuals who submitted an interest to sponsor form in 2020, but did not receive an IDA in 2020, 2021, or 2022 are encouraged to check their emails, including spam and junk folders. According to IRCC, individuals who have lost their confirmation number or access to the email address provided on their interest to sponsor form will be able to retrieve their confirmation numbers or provide a new email address once all IDAs have been sent, roughly 2 weeks after the program's opening day. If you're invited to apply to sponsor your parents and grandparents, there are 2 applications. 1. You must apply to become a sponsor. 2. Your parents or grandparents must apply for permanent residence. Submit both the sponsorship and the permanent residence applications online at the same time. Submit your application by the deadline stated in your invitation to apply letter. Who is eligible? You can sponsor your own parents and grandparents, related by blood or adoption. In case of divorce, you'll need to submit separate applications if you sponsor divorced parents and grandparents. If your divorced parents or grandparents have a current spouse, common law partner or conjugal partner, these people become dependents on the application and can immigrate to Canada with your parents and grandparents, if approved. Who you cannot sponsor: you can't sponsor your spouse's parents and grandparents, your in-laws. However, you can be a co-signer on your in-laws' application. Someone who is inadmissible to Canada. One can be inadmissible into Canada for various reasons, including security reasons, human or international rights violation, as well as medical or financial reasons and misrepresentation. Hong Kong to discontinue special arrangement for applications for extension of stay. Effective January 1, 2024, Hong Kong will discontinue special arrangement for applications for extension of stay. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Immigration Department, IMD, has, since April 8, 2022, started to accept applications of extension of stay from eligible non-permanent residents who are outside Hong Kong and are unable to return to Hong Kong in time. However, under the new rules, with effect from January 1, 2024, the requirement of physical presence of eligible non-permanent residents in Hong Kong for seeking an extension of stay will be fully restored. For extension of stay applications from eligible non-permanent residents having reached the IMD on or after January 1, 2024, the applicants are required to be physically present in Hong Kong, namely both at the time of application and at the time of collection of the e-visa for extension of stay. Before January 1, 2024, eligible non-permanent residents who are admitted into Hong Kong under the following immigration policies or schemes and whose limit of stay is about to expire, generally, within 4 weeks, but are presently outside Hong Kong may continue to apply for an extension of stay under the above-mentioned special arrangement, provided that the application could reach the IMD before January 1, 2024. 1. General employment policy, including both employment and investment as entrepreneurs. 2. Admission scheme for mainland talents and professionals. 3. Quality migrant admission scheme. 4. Immigration arrangements for non-local graduates. 5. Admission scheme for the second generation of Chinese Hong Kong permanent residents. 6. Technology talent admission scheme. 7. Capital investment entrance scheme. 8. Residents as dependents, and 9. Students enrolled in full-time study programs. Eligible applicants may submit the applications online or through their sponsors or authorized representatives in Hong Kong in accordance with the prevailing application procedures for extension of stay, including completion of the relevant application form and furnishing of relevant supporting documents. U.S. proposes rule to modernize H-2 temporary visa programs. The Department of Homeland Security, DHS, has taken steps to strengthen protections for temporary workers through the H-2A temporary agricultural and the H-2B temporary non-agricultural worker programs, H-2 programs. DHS has proposed modernizing and improving the H-2 programs by providing greater flexibility and protections for participating workers, and improving the program's efficiency. This would include strengthening protections for workers from exploitative conduct by employers, including the addition of whistleblower protections. Under the proposed regulations, employers who violate H-2B program requirements, including employers who fail to demonstrate an ability and intent to follow the program requirements, may be ineligible for the limited number of available visas. This rulemaking would also offer several benefits to employers, including making H-2 portability permanent, which would allow employers who are facing worker shortages to hire H-2 workers who are already lawfully in the United States while the employer's H-2 petition for the worker is pending. The H-2 programs allow certain U.S. employers or agents to bring foreign nationals to the United States to fill temporary jobs for which there are not enough U.S. workers who are able, willing, qualified and available to do the temporary work. Nova Scotia set to expand immigration opportunities for foreign nationals in healthcare professions. First announced in late September, certain foreign nationals will soon be able to immigrate to Nova Scotia through the expansion of one stream within the local Provincial Nominee Program, PNP. This move will make immigration to Nova Scotia a possibility for international students who want to become paramedics and pharmacy technicians. Announced jointly by Nova Scotia's Minister of Health, Michelle Thompson, and the province's Minister of Advanced Education Brian Wong, this change is taking effect because Nova Scotia is set to expand the international graduates in demand stream of its PNP. Nova Scotia's PNP, IGD stream. PNPs operated in every Canadian province and territory except Quebec and Nunavut allow local governments to nominate specific immigration candidates, for permanent residence, in their region, who they feel will best help them address local labor market gaps. Prior to this latest expansion, international graduates seeking work in the following occupations could immigrate to Nova Scotia through this PNP stream: nurse aides, orderlies, and patient service associates. National Occupation Classification 2021. 33,102, and Early Childhood Educators and Assistants, NOC 2021, 42,202. Paramedics, NOC 2021, Paramedical Occupations, 32,102, and Pharmacy Technicians, NOC 2021, 32,124, are now eligible thanks to this announcement. In order to be eligible for immigration through the stream of Nova Scotia's PNP, interested candidates must meet the following criteria. 1. Possess a full-time permanent job offer from a Nova Scotia employer in an eligible occupation. 2. Be between the ages of 21 and 55. 3. Have completed at least a high school education. 4. Have completed a course of study at least 30 weeks long, in the last 3 years. 5. Possess the appropriate certifications required for the job. 6. Have official language proficiency that equates to a level 5 on the Canadian Language Benchmark, CLB. 7. Possess enough money to settle permanently in Nova Scotia. At least half of the qualifying educational program must have been completed in Nova Scotia. Applying for immigration through the IGD PNP stream. Here are the basic steps to apply for immigration to this province through the IGD stream of its PNP. 1. Upload the required documents and submit a completed application on the government website. 2. If approved, apply for PR directly with Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, IRCC. Within 6 months of receiving your provincial nomination certificate. Note: applicants can request a letter of support for a temporary work permit from the Nova Scotia Office of Immigration, NSOI, which will allow them to stay in Nova Scotia while their application is being processed. Paramedics and pharmacy technicians needed in Nova Scotia. The chief executive of Nova Scotia's Pharmacy Association told CBC that the province will need about 200 pharmacy technicians over the next few years. An additional 150 to 200 paramedic positions could be available for international students as well, according to Charbel Daniel, the Director of Operations for ambulance services provider Emergency Medical Care Incorporated. Beyond the 2 occupations added to the IGD stream of Nova Scotia's PNP, There is significant demand for employable persons looking to work in many healthcare occupations across Canada. Other healthcare workers are also in demand. According to employment agency and consulting firm Randstad, these are the top 3 healthcare careers in demand across Canada for 2023. 1. Registered nurses, NOC 2021, 31,301. 2. Personal support workers, NOC 2021, 44,101. 3. Healthcare aides, NOC 2021, 33,102. Healthcare aides are also specifically eligible for immigration to Nova Scotia through the IGD stream, as noted above. According to the Government of Canada, the following represents the expected number of job openings for each of the above occupations between 2022 and 2031. Registered nurses, 155,400. Personal support workers, 34,500. Healthcare aides, 191,000. The above numbers reinforce the need for more healthcare industry workers across Canada, including in Nova Scotia. Coming to Canada as a healthcare worker. To attract more healthcare workers, IRCC has begun conducting category-based express entry draws. The first of these draws took place on June 28, 2023. These draws were implemented specifically to attract Canadian immigration candidates who can help address some of the most significant labor market challenges in this country. For 2023, IRCC is issuing ETAs through category-based draws to eligible and interested candidates who possess recent work experience in one of 5 different occupational categories. One of this year's categories is designated for foreign nationals with recent work experience in healthcare professions. Healthcare category-based draw history. So far this year, Canada has conducted 2 healthcare category-based express entry draws. The first draw took place on June 28, when 500 candidates were issued an invitation to apply, ITA, for Canadian PR. For this draw, candidates with a comprehensive ranking system, CRS, score of at least 476 were considered. The second draw for this category took place on July 6. This draw invited 1,500 candidates with a minimum CRS score of 463. How to identify reputable DLI when you're looking to study in Canada? Recently, Northern College based in Timmins, Ontario revoked the admission of 504 previously accepted international students just weeks before classes were meant to begin, leaving many students angry, confused and out several $1,000s. The Toronto Star reported that Northern College President and CEO Audrey Penner attributed the problem to a higher visa approval rate from the Immigration Department than had been anticipated, leading to a situation of being oversubscribed on their campuses. The college said that it has a commitment to a housing plan and ties to employment upon graduating that it would not be able to deliver on. "We were not quite prepared to manage that much of an increase in the number," Penner told the Star. "You're well aware there's a growing number of students interested in wanting to study in Canada. So, there's been much higher demand. While instances like this are very rare, especially when the acceptance letters are legitimate, there are still ways that international students can protect themselves from fraud or unethical practices. Research your institution. When applying to study in Canada as an international student, it is a good idea to thoroughly research the institution you're applying to. The first thing is to ensure it is on the Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada (IRCC) list of designated learning institutions, DLIs. A DLI is a post-secondary educational institution that has been approved by the Government of Canada to host international students. If it is not on the list, you may not be eligible for a study permit. When doing research, it is important to check if your college is part of a public college-private partnership and how many international students they admit per year. This is because in the case of the Northern College students, they were admitted to programs that fall under a private-public partnership between Northern College and Pure's College of Technology in Scarborough. A recent directive from the Government of Ontario says that under these agreements and starting in fall 2023, no more than 7,500 international students can be admitted between all partnership campuses. Another factor to consider is if the program of study at your desired institution is eligible for a post-graduation work permit, PGWP. Many students who choose to study in Canada do so because they plan to stay in Canada to live and work after graduating. This becomes much more difficult if your program is not eligible for a PGWP. You can also reach out the institution directly and gather as much information as possible about support for students, such as housing or mental health support, the average number of yearly admissions and the expected cost of living in the city, both on and off campus. If possible, try to contact an alumni association and speak with a former student about their experiences. PGWP eligibility. To be eligible for a PGWP, You must graduate from a program at a DLI that is at least 8 months in length. You must be a full-time student through the academic year for each year of your program and obtain a transcript and an official letter from your DLI saying you have met all the requirement to complete your program of study. A PGWP is valid for up to 3 years. It allows you to gain work experience in Canada, which will strengthen a future application for permanent residency. How to avoid fraud as an international student. Canada's new Immigration Minister Mark Miller has said that the current visa process for international students across Canada has led to integrity challenges within the system. Miller says in response, his department will be taking a surgical approach to removing these challenges. For example, earlier this year, 700 Indian international students in Canada were facing deportation following the discovery that their letters of acceptance to DLIs were not legitimate. IRCC will now be evaluating each case individually. International students are particularly vulnerable to fraud and scams. This is because they are often applying for school and employment and trying to find housing before even stepping foot in Canada. This means they must rely on agencies or other outside assistance. The Indian students were victims of a ghost consultant. This is when a person who pretends to help with visa or school applications, and after being paid a fee, will cut off all communication, leaving the student with either fake documents or no documents at all. Other scams include fake housing and job offers, but there are ways to avoid this. The best line of defense is to ask as many questions as possible. If the offer seems too good to be true, it probably is. Also, international students should make sure they are not falling victim to phishing scams by never giving personal information in response to an unsolicited phone call, text message or email. New Poverty Report Card evaluates quality of life in Canada's 10 provinces. In their first ever poverty report cards, Food Banks Canada has graded all provinces and territories on a variety of measures related to poverty reduction and standard of living. There are many factors that contribute to the quality of life experienced by people living in any particular country, province, city or community. What follows will outline how each province and territory performed according to the Food Banks Canada report cards, ordered by the number of new permanent residence landings in 2022. Especially for prospective newcomers to Canada and recent immigrants, these measures can provide some valuable insight into the variances in quality of life across Canada. Poverty Report Card results. Using a multitude of measures all under 4 general umbrellas: experience of poverty, poverty measures, material deprivation and anti-poverty legislative progress. Food Banks Canada recently graded each of Canada's 13 provinces and territories on the poverty reduction efforts and results of local governments. Some of the measures used by Food Banks Canada include 1. Financial discomfort. 2. Poor access to healthcare. 3. Food insecurity. 4. Inadequate standard of living. 5. Unemployment. As indicated by Food Banks Canada, these grades represent how well poverty reduction efforts are going, at the provincial, territorial, and federal government levels. These report cards explore the experience of poverty across Canada and where governments can take steps to improve their social policy. In summary, here is how each province scored overall. Ontario, D. Quebec, B. British Columbia, D+. Alberta, D. Manitoba, C. Saskatchewan, D. Nova Scotia, F. New Brunswick, D. Newfoundland and Labrador, D. Prince Edward Island, C. Yukon, Northwest Territories and Nunavut, incomplete. The report card for each of Canada's 3 territories received an incomplete grade because, due to low sample size, data for this region may not accurately real-life circumstances. Policy recommendations from Food Banks Canada. Food Banks Canada outlines 4 general groups of policy recommendations for the Canadian government in their 2022 Hunger Count report, which will be discussed below. 1. Establish a minimum income floor. While there exists some level of a minimum income floor, MIF, for Canadian seniors and families with children across the country, Food Banks Canada recommends that the government commit to moving towards a MIF for all Canadians. This, according to Food Banks Canada, should begin with establishing 2 more pillars to Canada's income floor for Canadians living with a disability and those of working age in Canada who are single and unattached. Canadians living with a disability, says the report, make up a significantly increasing number of food bank visitors. This is said to be a result of the fact that not a single province provides single Canadians with a disability a sufficient income, even after factoring in federal benefits. Similar trends in food bank visitation or usage can be seen among single working-age adult Canadians. This can be taken as a sign of the financial struggles of this group, much the same as the data suggests about Canadians with a disability. Establishing a MIF for more distinct subsets of Canada's population, therefore, can help Canada progress towards more income security for people across the country, a move that will aid in ensuring we pave the way for a more resilient Canada where no one is left behind and no one goes hungry. 2. Address affordable housing. To aid Canadians in the journey to finding affordable housing, which contributes to the use of food banks across Canada, some suggestions from Food Banks Canada include more focus on building and introducing new affordable units as well as helping make the existing market more affordable. Citing Manitoba's Rent Assist program as an example, the report says that this program allowed beneficiaries to make smart planning decisions with their funds as well as focus on other aspects of their life, such as furthering their education, and raising their children, also enabling them to buy healthier groceries. Generally, Food Banks Canada points to the following 4 action items as ways the Canadian government can help increase food security and related positive outcomes by addressing affordable housing. Immediately implement a national rent assist program based on an expanded version of the Canada Housing Benefit. Explore community-targeted funding for the acquisition of affordable housing. Food Banks Canada says this could involve providing capital funding, loans and grants, to nonprofits so they may purchase and provide rental properties at or below the median market rent. Develop stronger regulations or taxations of financial entities, REITs, private equity funds, asset management companies, and pension funds, in the housing market. 3. Support low-income workers. At present, the wages of low-income Canadians are not sufficient to support them as the cost of living and food continues to rise. In other words, Canada continues to have a sizable segment of its population that can be classified as the working poor, employed Canadians who still come home with too little money to feed themselves and their families. To improve the outcomes and financial security of Canada's low-income workers, here are some of the steps that Food Banks Canada suggests the government take. Extend the maximum duration of A benefits to 52 weeks, followed by a staggered reduction in cash benefits while retaining access to non-cash A supports, such as training and education. Permanently broaden the A qualifying definition of employment to include self-employed and precarious work. Review and reduce the number of employment hours needed to qualify for A, currently between 420 and 700 hours of insurable employment. Expand the working while on claim (WWC) provisions in A to allow workers to retain more of their income from temporary/part-time work while on A. Introduce government incentives to encourage businesses to pay living wages to all employees. 4. Combat food insecurity in rural and northern Canada, a problem that is only expected to worsen over time with the rising cost of housing and food across Canada, in spite of the development of programs such as Nutrition North. Aimed at addressing food costs and insecurity through subsidies as well as other targeted programs and initiatives, these regions have not experienced the positive impact on food costs that many hoped for when the program was first introduced. According to Food Banks Canada, food insecurity in these regions is a function of multiple factors, including consistently lower wages among those living in the north, high housing and energy costs, and other factors that are preventing the gathering of traditional and reliable food sources. By taking such actions as establishing a MIF in these remote communities, reviewing the Nutrition North Canada initiative, to understand why it is not effectively enough doing its job to reduce food costs regionally, working to expand internet access for the sake of the local workforce and labor outcomes, Food Banks Canada suggests that the government can begin addressing the long-term root causes of food insecurity in the north for the betterment of all who live in the affected areas. Alberta, British Columbia, Manitoba, and PAY's PNP draws issued 786 invitations in first week of October 2023. Highlights of Canada PNP draws held in first week of October 2023. Canada PNP draws invited 786 candidates in first week of October 2023. 4 provinces of Canada, namely Alberta, BC, Manitoba, and PAY held 4 draws. 4 draws were held and issued invitations under 6 different streams. Manitoba issued highest no. Of invitations, 542. Canada PNP draws held in first week of October 2023. Alberta, British Columbia, Manitoba, and PAY held 4 draws and invited 786 candidates. Details of the Canada PNP draws are mentioned in the below table. Canada PNP requirements. 67 points. Educational qualifications. 1 to 2 years of work experience in relevant field. S. A certificate. Medical insurance. Proof of funds. Thank you for joining us for this comprehensive update on the latest developments from the Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, IRCC. Whether you're an aspiring immigrant, a student considering Canada for your studies, or simply interested in the evolving immigration policies, we hope you found this information valuable. Stay connected with us for future updates, and as always, we wish you the best on your immigration journey. That is all for today, in this video. What are your thoughts on this? Please let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching the entire video. Hopefully, the information is useful to you. See you later, in the next episode. Till then, take care.